What do you have against the brother with the bow tie and bean pie and sells papers? The person who asked this question, we respect your question. We respect your question, and we respect you. And we answer you with a question and then the answer. What would you have against the person who lied on your mother? What would you have against the person who slandered your father? What would you have against the person who you took care of as a child? Their house was burned down and you took them in. They had no mother or father, and you fed them and you clothed them. You gave them a roof over their heads. You gave them an education. You taught them. And then they turn around and they smack you in your face. Literally, not figuratively, literally smack you in your face. Or worse than that, they spit in your face. Or even more than that, they stole from you. Or worse than that, they punched you. Or even worse than that, they maimed you or shot you and paralyzed you, put you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. What would you have against that person? I don't think that the most sensible Muslim or Christian sitting here listening to my voice would say that they would be that forgiving to that person for committing those crimes against the person or persons who has done all of that for them. These people that sell the bean pies, that wear the bow ties, that sell those newspapers have violated with the most heinous crime. The most heinous crime. There is no crime that is more horrendous than the crimes against Allah, the Lord of the worlds. For if someone were to shoot a school full of children, walk into one of these elementary schools and took a gun and shot down every single child in that school, burned down the hospital with all the patients, the sick people. If we took that and multiplied that by hundreds of thousands of times, those crimes are not as great as the crime of saying that Allah, the Lord of the worlds, has a son, or that the Lord of the worlds has a mother. There's no crime that is committed that is greater than the crime that is committed against God. So whatever we have against them is what God already has against them. Slander, backbiting, lying, deception, cheating, defrauding, misleading, causing people to go into error, guiding people to go to the hellfire. This is what we have against them and anyone else that lies on the Lord of the worlds. Don't you have any jealousy? Don't you have any jealousy for your Lord? You mean to tell me it's okay for an actor, Jim Carrey, you have no problem with an actor, Jim Carrey, to get on the films by Hollywood and portray God? You don't have a problem with that? You don't have a problem for those who are my age, for the actor who's now deceased, George Burns, to stand in front of the world and make a film saying he's God, smoking a cigar? You don't have a problem with that? You don't have a problem every Sunday, every Easter. You don't have a problem with a man who was known to be a criminal in society, maybe even a homosexual. We can find these actors playing in the 10 Commandments. Every Easter they put it on TV. You don't have a problem with some actor who is not befitting the status of Moses to portray Charlton Heston, to portray the prophet Moses. You don't have a problem with that? You don't find anything wrong with that? You don't find a problem with people making a play called Jesus Christ Superstar? You don't have a problem with that? With a person who may be an alcoholic, maybe a drug abuser, and he's portraying God. He's portraying God, and you laugh at it? You don't have a problem with that? Something is wrong. So this is why we have a problem with those guys. We have a problem with them is because they are lying on the Lord of the worlds. And I swear by that Lord who's above the heavens that you would not allow a man to lie on your wife. And you would not allow a man to lie on your husband. You would not allow a man to slander your mother. We grew up in the city. We played the dozens as I was younger. We used to say, yeah, your mother smokes cigars. Hey, your mother wears combat boots. As we used to say, your mother shops at the Salvation Army. We used to say things like this as kids. Because you know you want to get that guy angry, you start talking about his mother. You can talk about his father, but when you talk about his mother, it's time to start fighting. How come we get angry with somebody talking about our mother, but when somebody slanders the Lord of the worlds, we don't have a problem with that? We okay with people like that? This is the reason why we're raising our voices and we're angry. This is the reason why we talk about them and anyone else with disdain, looking down our noses, because they have done the greatest crime. The greatest crime that any human being, even the child molesters, if a child molester molested thousands of children, we have a church right here in Newark that's supposed to be the oldest church in the city of Newark. Right down here in Broad Street, off Broadway, coming from Broadway into Broad Street in North Newark, right near 280 East. We have a case here some years ago, some of you may not remember, where some of the nuns were getting pregnant by the priests, having babies, throwing them over the wall, throwing the live babies over the rectory wall. 16 skeletons found behind that wall. That crime is not as great as the crime as saying that God has a son. That crime is not as great as that. Because once you say that the Lord of the worlds is a man, you're saying that the Lord of the worlds urinates. You're saying that the Lord of the world defecates. How could you say that? We shouldn't be upset with that. We shouldn't be upset with that. If you are heterosexual and someone calls you a homosexual, you faggot, that's fighting words. But when they blaspheme the Lord of the worlds, saying God is like Coca-Cola, he's the real thing. God is like GE, he lights up the world. God is like Scotch brand tape. Even though you can't see him, you know he's there. It's not befitting for the human being to say that God is like anything. God is not like anything. He's not like anything. He's far above everything. He can't be compared to anything. He's not like anything. He's unlike everything because he's the creator. Why don't you get angry? Why? You get angry with the creature's rights when they have their rights violated, but when the Lord of the world's rights are violated and people talk about him in a manner that they shouldn't be talking about him and worship him in a manner they shouldn't worship him, you're okay. So we'll end it here. No more questions. As you can see, I'm losing my voice because this is a serious issue. If you really think that you can die today or next week and stand in front of your Lord on the day of resurrection justifiably and say that the Lord of the worlds has a mother, how can the one who created that mother come from that mother? Think about it. Just think about it, people. Think about it. How can the one who came out of the mother's womb be her creator? Just think. When did he create her if he came from her? It doesn't make sense. We say worship him by himself. Worship him by himself. Stop saying that he has a partner. Stop saying that he has a son. Stop saying that he has a mother. Worship him by himself. Call on him by himself. He wants you to call on him by himself. So we ended there, inshallah, and we thank you for coming.